Hello everyone and welcome to Master Auto's workshop. Today we're making reproductions of Viking brooch knives. These are small utility knives that hung from a Viking woman's apron brooch. I'm going to take you through the detailed process of making one of these knives, from the blade to the handle to the sheath and the suspension chain. Welcome to part 4 of this tutorial, where we will discuss how to make chain, suspension chain, for these Viking brooch knives. I'm going to show you how to make two different types of chain. One of them is Burka chain number 2, which is a double jump ring, and number 9. Here are a couple examples of the chain that I've been making for these knives. Burka chain type 2 is just a simple chain of butted jump rings that are doubled up. I really like the look of this style of chain, but making them is extremely time consuming. I'm not actually going to show you how to make Burka type 2 chain, but it's basically jump rings. You make a ring mandrel. This is a 1/4 inch metal rod. You get some 18 gauge wire, wind the wire around the rod, cut the rings off of the rod, make sure the ends of the cut ends are filed nice and clean, and then using pliers butt the ends together, doubling up the chain. Very, very nice chain, but very time consuming. The chain that I am going to demonstrate for you is Burka chain type number 9. I really like this type of chain because it's fairly fast and easy to make. It's extremely strong. You don't have to worry about jump rings pulling apart and losing the knife. Alright, this is my jig for making Burka type 13 chain. I have 1/4 inch studs for 1/4 inch diameter rings. I have 3/16 studs for 3/16 inch rings. I can vary the distance between, so this is a 1/4 inch, 3/4, half, 5/8. This is my information that tells me, my cheat information that tells me, so we're going to go ahead and do 18 gauge, 3/4 inch, so I need to cut 10.5 inches of wire. Let's cut my 10.5 inches of wire, 18 gauge wire. Is what I like to use. Alright, so how do we make these rings? Well, first step is we have to capture this wire against this stud with these pliers. What that does is it anchors this and gives me something to pull against here. With my left hand I can pull. Now I'm going to make this wire a little long. Instead of grasping it here, I'm going to make it a little long, and I'll show you how to deal with that once we're done here. From here, now you want to wind twice around these studs very tightly. So 1, pull hard, 2. Now this tail, you wrap around here and get it out of the way. That's going to be your winding tail. So effectively, you've got a double ring on each eyelet. Don't pay attention to the winding ring. You've got a double and a double. So now what we have to do is crimp this. So what we're going to do is reach and crimp. And you want to get this crimped up against the 2 posts. Crimp it really, really tightly. And here's where we're at now. Now we remove this from the posts. You see you've got a double ring on this eye, a double ring on this eye. Here's that tail. I'll show you how to deal with that later when we're done. It's a little long. And then this is what we're going to use to wind. So here is our loop. I'm going to put it in the vise so I have something to pull. This gives me something to pull. We're going to put the turning rod in here And I'm going to pull hard and wind, pull hard to get this first two, that's three, four, five, six, seven, right there. All right, we've got one ring. Now this is that pesky little tail I told you about. What you can do is reach in there with some flush cut snippers, pull it out, isolate it, and snip it, gone. All right, just feel and make sure there's nothing sharp there. Now, here's the end of the winding tail. What do we do with that? Well, eventually we're going to want to tuck this loose tip into the crotch. So what I actually do is I start kind of in the middle and kind of tighten and spiral up to the top, and you can tighten this wind a little bit more. Get a little bit more, and then you got to figure out where to cut it so that you can stuff the wire into the crotch. So we'll say right about there. That looks good. And then you just take your pliers and crimp it. We have our first ring. As you can see, I'll turn this over, the end of the wind is kind of tucked up into this crotch and cut off. There's our first ring. Alright, how do we add a ring? So, what we do is we thread this through here, wind it around, and when you come up to here, you've got to go back and capture that loose end. So now this other ring is captured on two rings. We'll put this back in the jig. And we'll go ahead and crimp it. Now from here, we'll take it out of the jig and we'll go ahead and wind it again. So now we have two rings. Now if the eyelets get a little deformed, what you can do is take one of these and round out the eyelets. For this one, hang it in the crotch. Hang it in the crotch. And there we go. Just keep adding rings.